He was a patriot, a devout Catholic, a family man, and also a spy. For over 2 decades, Robert Hanssen lived a double life, betraying his country while sitting at the very heart of its most powerful intelligence agency. This is the true story of the man who sold America's secrets to Russia for millions, and almost got away with it. Robert Philip Hanssen was born on April 18, 1944, in Chicago, Illinois. Raised by a strict, emotionally abusive father who was a Chicago police officer, Hanssen developed a reserved and secretive personality early in life. He studied chemistry at Knox College and later, business at Northwestern University. But it was his 1976 entry into the FBI that put him on a path to infamy. Assigned to counterintelligence, Hanssen gained access to some of the nation's most classified secrets. Ironically, he once investigated the very kinds of spies he would soon become. In 1979, Hanssen made his first contact with Soviet intelligence. Without telling his wife or colleagues, he sent a package to the Soviet GRU, offering classified U.S. information. In return, he received cash, just a few $1,000s at first. Hanssen was cautious. He never met his handlers in person. He used code names like Ramon Garcia and Dead Drops, leaving packages in parks or under bridges. He even avoided using technology that could trace him. But in 1981, fearing discovery, he suddenly stopped. His conscience, or paranoia, may have gotten the better of him. For years, he lived quietly, as if nothing had happened. In 1985, Hanssen returned to espionage, this time with the Soviet KGB. Now more calculated, he sold information about double agents, U.S. counterintelligence operations, and even revealed how the U.S. was bugging Soviet embassy buildings. One of his most devastating betrayals led to the execution of Soviet agents secretly working for the U.S. Hanssen was responsible for at least 3 American assets being identified and executed. He was not motivated solely by ideology. Despite his conservative Catholic faith, he was driven by ego, resentment, and greed. Over the years, he received over $1.4 million in cash, diamonds, and foreign bank deposits. Despite the scale of his betrayal, Hanssen operated undetected for years. He held various high-level positions within the FBI, including at the Soviet Analytical Unit and the Office of Foreign Intelligence. He even warned the Soviets about investigations the FBI was conducting, some of which were aimed at catching him. Hanssen grew increasingly paranoid. He kept no contact with handlers, demanded no face-to-face meetings, and warned them never to try to identify him. To his family and colleagues, he seemed like a devout, if somewhat odd, man. He went to church, preached about morality, and lived in suburban Virginia with his wife and 6 children. No one suspected he was one of the worst traitors in American history. By the late 1990s, the FBI and CIA were growing desperate to find a mole who had been bleeding secrets for years. They had investigated several agents, some of them innocent, but Hanssen had stayed in the shadows. In 2000, a breakthrough came when U.S. intelligence acquired a file from a former Russian operative. It included a tape of the mole's voice and a fingerprint. The voice was matched. The fingerprint was Robert Hanssen's. Rather than arrest him immediately, the FBI assigned a young agent to work closely with him and gather more evidence. The operation was intense. Agents bugged his office and monitored his every move. On February 18, 2001, Robert Hanssen was finally caught red-handed. He had just made a dead drop in a park in Virginia, placing a plastic bag filled with classified documents under a wooden footbridge. As he walked back to his car, agents swarmed and arrested him. He reportedly said, "What took you so long?" Hanssen struck a deal. He pleaded guilty to 15 counts of espionage in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. In July 2001, he was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. He was placed in the Supermax prison in Florence, Colorado, spending 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. The Robert Hanssen case sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. How could someone so trusted and deeply embedded betray his country for 2 decades without detection? His actions compromised over 50 intelligence operations and led to deaths. But perhaps most chilling was his lack of remorse. He claimed he did it for money and out of intellectual vanity. Hanssen's case forced the FBI and CIA to overhaul internal security. But the damage he caused will never be fully repaired. Robert Hanssen wasn't just a spy. He was a chilling reminder that the greatest threats sometimes come from within. A man who swore to uphold the law, but spent his life breaking it. A patriot on paper. A traitor in truth. If you found this story fascinating, hit that like button, subscribe for more.